After years of watching their standing erode in energy-producing states, Democrats under President Joe Biden have accepted the challenge that's vexed them for a decade, convincing fossil fuel workers that they will still be okay even if their current jobs evaporate as the nation embraces a climate change-friendly economy. Democrats have a term for their vision: just transition, and hope it might succeed in the same places where previous attempts to focus on economic transition have failed. In 2016, Hillary Clinton tried to tout a transition economy in West Virginia, only to produce the most toxic soundbite of her ill-fated campaign, when she appeared to gloat at the notion of Democratic policies taking away coal miners' jobs. But even as Biden's infrastructure bill touches on many policies that energy states say they will need to withstand job losses, including retooling defunct factories, they have yet to show much progress in winning the hearts and minds of people in places it would directly affect. Even some key allies acknowledge that Democrats haven't yet landed on a coherent, persuasive message. They've got a long way to go to convince people that what could happen will actually be positive for them, said Phil Smith, spokesman for the United Mine Workers Association, a labor group for coal miners. Because right now, they don't believe that. Democrats say they've learned and adjusted. But the party's message still rings hollow to fossil fuel-reliant towns. The Biden administration unwittingly proved skeptics' point when announcing aggressive climate change executive actions in January, with Special Climate Envoy John Kerry using the time-worn line that the same people can do those jobs, but the choice of doing the solar power one now is a better choice. Kerry's comments were criticized as tone-deaf, reflective of Democrats' reputation in towns that feel they'll be on the losing end of this shift. But the backlash seemed only to awaken Democrats to the need to soften the blow to towns suffering from the energy transition. On February 4, Wyoming's Republican Senator John Barrasso proposed an amendment to a $1.9 trillion economic relief bill attacking Biden's ban on oil and gas leasing on federal land for failing to offset lost revenue to schools in nearby communities. Barrasso's proposal, which would replace lost revenues to help schools, was designed as a poison pill for Democrats who have played down or sidestepped negative repercussions of their envisioned transition off fossil fuels. But Democrats, spurred by New Mexico's Martin Heinrich, surprised their Republican colleagues by embracing it. Heinrich's state is at the heart of the U.S. oil and gas boom, with towns along the Permian Basin reliant on the jobs and revenues hydrocarbons bring. The offices for Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer and Senate Budget Committee Chairman Bernie Sanders, I Vermont, indicated they would back Heinrich. Heinrich's floor speech staked out the party's refreshed positioning, declaring that while he and Barrasso disagree on many things, including the speed of the energy transition, they agree on supporting fossil fuel-dependent communities. We support their schools, and throughout this transition we should support the people who have kept the lights on and made this country the greatest energy country on the face of the earth, Heinrich said. So I would support this amendment because it's about supporting the schools in those communities. The amendment passed 98-2. When former President Barack Obama resided in the White House, Democrats first began speaking of a just transition, originally a labor movement term that environmentalists repurposed to tout a green jobs boom as coal mining collapsed. But Obama-era Democrats weren't trusted messengers, given that many of them had long backed environmental policies that workers in fossil fuel-reliant sectors took as an assault on their employment and a danger to their communities. The towns and counties and regions around them unravel in a social sense. There's a diaspora. Everybody just leaves. That's why the landscape is just littered with all these former industrial towns, Lee Anderson, Director of Governmental Affairs with the Utility Workers Union of America, told Politico. That creates this social and frankly political chaos that has led us to this moment in time now. Greater revenues for schools is an epic challenge in itself. But it's just one of the many interlocking issues standing in the way of Democrats' plans to combat climate change. Union leaders told Politico that Democratic officials and the Biden administration still have trouble getting their minds around how expensive aid will be to salvage Appalachian towns whose mountains are pockmarked with tapped-out coal mines, much less for preventing the same fate in oil and gas towns in North Dakota, Pennsylvania, Texas, Oklahoma, Utah, New Mexico, Colorado and elsewhere. UMWA and other unions suggested wage replacement for even just three-quarters of the workforce taking jobs in fields that pay less than the fossil fuel industry would cost $23 billion per year. And that's not even counting indirect jobs. Biden believes the best solution is to replace fossil fuel jobs with equally high-paying jobs. He talks of bringing a clean energy manufacturing industry to the U.S. to put people in different jobs, ones with fewer health drawbacks like the black lung disease that has cost so many miners years and lives. His pitch is focused on jobs just as much as saving the planet. Biden teased some of these concepts in his $2.2 trillion infrastructure package, including tying labor standards to tax credits for renewable energy, directing money to union-run apprenticeships, targeting economic development grants to former mining towns and using overlooked programs to retool defunct factories in rural areas. Biden's Democratic allies have floated bills that funnel a greater share of benefits to areas where coal mines and power plants have closed.